So here we are at the gathering, the Willow Bay. Um, it's a circle of unity for the acknowledgement of the land that we're on.
Would you mind if I read your sign? I couldn't see it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look it up on your phone. Look up DAWES Act, DAWES.
Yep,
Okay,
definitely aware.
okay. So that's what this is from. It
My
opened up the
cousin
West.
is she's got a PhD in missing and murdered Indigenous women, and she's been working on going through the Cherokee Nation's Dawes rolls
Okay.
with their
Yeah.
genealogist last year. So I've
Mhm.
gotten a lot of yeah. Now that she's left grad school, the thing that she's trying to work on is
So I'm glad to have made it here. Thanks again. Um, it's important to, acknowledge a truth in this country that people look the other way upon. Nobody really wants to look at this. They want to recognize what they own and worked hard for, but they don't want to recognize the laws that were violated and how it makes it lawless to actually own land
Right.
by Europeans. And the foundation for what I'm standing on is I'm Onondaga and I'm and I'm a member of the Beaver Clan family, and that's only because of my mother. My father, who recently passed, was from Greece. Um, so I don't have any affiliation to Greece other than through my father. But as a sovereign citizen to this continent, I follow the women, and that's why I honor my mother. That's how I became a sovereign citizen to this land with a clan family. You know, as far back as I've researched, the United States does not have a valid treaty with my matriarch, with my clan mother, and that is the root of who we are. We come from clan families, and our archives were preserved before colonial arrival through wampum belts. And it's just it's really amazing how police officers think they have authority being granted to police the land that we indigenous people come from.
Mm-hmm.
Their foundation is flawed. The states have no jurisdiction to make treaties with tribal nations because they don't have sovereign power. Only the federal government had that, and still has it. And so, my research goes really deep, and I demand compliance to every police officer that I come upon who thinks he's got authority. Compliance to Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution. And even though the officer's not educated and taught federal law, he still has to abide by it. And that's where I come in. Go ahead, violate my rights, because I'll put it into the courts, I'll take it to the courts, and I'll reveal the truths. The Library of Congress is a good place to go to find every document of what happened in this country when it was developed. If you go to the Library of Congress, you can pull up your treaty. And as a matter of fact, I have a couple of them on me. One of the key factors here is that you have to understand the history of this country. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. When the state became a state, when the state of New York became a state within the United States, you know, it's the state of New York's proclaimed birth of ratifying the U.S. Constitution was in 1788. Look it up. The birth of the state of New York. Before that, before this happened, there were already treaties in place with the federal government and my people. And one of the treaties is the Treaty with the Six Nations, 1784. And within it, it's Fort Stanwix. Within it, it clarifies the boundaries of my people. And it shows, there's even maps that you can find in the Library of Congress, which I also have. It shows the territory of the Six Nations, all across what is today called New York State. And that was already agreed with Washington. So after that, a second treaty was made to validate it in 1789, the Treaty of Fort Harmer. Okay, and this treaty validates the Fort Stanwix Treaty. And so here you have the state of New York proclaiming it ratified the U.S. Constitution in 1788, but there were already treaties before and after that were validated with the federal government. And so this is where there's a lack of accountability. The state has no power to make treaties. It has no authority by the federal government to even initiate treaties with sovereign nations. So, this is a deeply rooted thing where the policing of this land is completely illegal. And so is the purchasing of property. This is all going to come back on all you American people who refuse to recognize your own Constitution. It's going to come back at you because look at Article 6. It's very clear. Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution makes it very clear. As a matter of fact, I keep that on me too because I want to make sure that when I come upon every officer, I approach him, I pull out my ID. This is my ID with my treaty. I validate my acknowledgement. This is my treaty. Get yourself a body cam because people are not comprehending the importance of a body cam today. They think their cell phone is going to do it, and it's not. Get yourself a body cam because these have GPSs on them. You can record your confrontation with any officer. You can keep your hands free with your documents. And this is Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. That right there, those two articles, the first and second paragraph, they make it very clear. And this is what we have a right and an obligation to demand compliance. These officers do not understand what you're saying to them when you're asking to see their compliance with Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, because they're not taught federal law, but they have to abide by federal standards. Okay, this is where international laws become reality. Okay, again, when you're a sovereign citizen and you have a treaty and you have found your treaty, like I said, Fort Stanwix is on my ID.
You good, Sonny? I'm good.
Fort Stanwix, the Treaty of Fort Stanwix is 1784. Okay, that was predating the state of New York's establishment or proclaiming to have ratified the U.S. Constitution. So it's clear that the police officers do not carry a treaty, and if they're not carrying a treaty, then they are not carrying compliance to the United States' own Constitution.
Right.
This is where it comes in. But the general public is ignorant. They're ignorant to this because of the history of violence that the policing has done. The history of violence by white men in this country who violated those treaties. Like I said, the Clinton-Sullivan campaign. The Clinton-Sullivan campaign was a direct assault on my people. And it was a direct violation of the Treaty of Fort Stanwix and all the other peace agreements. See, these are peace agreements. That's what they are. They're peace agreements. There's no treaty for war. There's no such thing as a treaty for war. Every single treaty has to be of sovereign nations as well as uh, a great peace established between two sovereigns. That's what a peace treaty is. That's the importance of it. And I'm just not ignorant to American mythology. I don't accept it. And if you're gonna have today is what they call Thanksgiving. How about Thanksgiving? Let's call it Thanksgiving
Mm-hmm.
because there's no giving. There's no Thanksgiving. There's no good history with the indigenous people that this country has. This country does not have a single treaty that it has been honoring. There's not a single treaty being honored. All right? So you got to understand this. This is where white supremacy is at. This is where white privilege comes in. And this is where it's normalized in everyday American teaching. Okay? There's no happy relationship with the indigenous people. And I'm here to make sure that people are opening their eyes. You're going to own it. You're going to own your lies. And if there's anything that I can ask all of you to do, if you're going to have dinner at the table tonight for Thanksgiving, do yourselves an acknowledgement of the land that you're on. Do a land recognition. If you're on the land of the Onondagas, recognize that at the dinner table. Recognize that at the dinner table so that everyone is in solidarity and aware of it. Because that's what it is. It's a false education that we have going on. And we need to get this corrected. So I'm standing my ground. I'm not worried about nothing or anyone. I want to make sure you guys all hear it from me. I love each and every one of you, whether you all like me or not.